Hi there, thanks for joining me today. And Miss June, our foster girl, is with us. She's got a little chew toy, so you might hear that in the background. We're going to begin this back bend or front body opening practice lying on a prop, a bolster with a blanket, a pillow, whatever you have. You're going to sit in front of that and you're going to have your butt on the floor, and then you're going to lie back so that your upper back is supported. And my suggestion is that you take this position so that your head is tucked a little bit forward. In other words, it's higher and the head is rotated with the gaze kind of more toward the legs. So make any adjustments so that your low back doesn't hurt or feel agitated, and let your legs rest or position them in any way that you feel is conducive to relaxation right now. Exhale out. And if your eyes are open, just let your gaze be soft, like you're looking out over an expanse of open space. If they're closed, just relax all around your eyes. And we'll rest here for, maybe another minute or so, just giving the body time to release into the support. And for the mind and the body to land in one place together. So often they're sort of disconnected. Let your breathing be easy and natural. And the weight of your body feel heavy. Not like you've gained weight, but like you're resisting that urge or feeling like you need to get up and do something. Let's be present with 3 more breaths here. And if you have your eyes closed, just start to blink them or open them a crack until you can see the space you're in again. Don't rush at all, just reawaken slowly and roll over to your side, doesn't matter which one, and just push with your forearm or your hand on the floor and sit upright. And come to all fours and just let's put those props to the side. You might want a block and a belt later as well. It's always good to have those around. And when you get yourself to all fours, you're going to bring your knees a little bit closer to one another so that they're maybe narrower than hip width, or maybe a little bit toward the middle of your mat. And you're going to sway your hips from side to side. So you're going to lean your hips over to one side, and your chest and head are going to have to counterbalance that to the other side. And then you're going to go the other way. And you can think of this almost like you're drawing an arc with your hips, as if they were to touch the ground on one side. They're not touching, they're staying higher than that. But then they would come up through the middle, that's the high point of the rainbow, and then they would arc over to the other side. So do that a couple more times. Let your head and torso move as needed to counterbalance the weight of your hips, which are going side to side. Now, the next time that you're Hips go to the right. I'm going to turn and face you for this one. You're going to let them land on the ground. And when they land on the ground, you can just readjust your legs however is comfortable for you. I like to stack the left ankle on top of the right knee. And then elongate your spine and twist to the right. You can pull or press against your right knee. And as you exhale, drop some weight down into your left hip. Draw the rib cage back slightly, right around the solar plexus. And then lift the top of your breastbone, lift your chin a little bit, and turn your head and look back towards your right shoulder. Again, letting that feeling of weightedness happen so that the body opens from that sense of safety and letting go instead of from force. On in-breath, face back toward front. You're going to reverse how you got here and just swing the hips to the other side. So lift your hips. So remember, we're going from all fours. I've just turned to face you so it's easier for you to see if you need it. You're going to sway your hips left and then sit that left hip down. Then you can readjust the feet and knees and start to twist to the left. And when the mind and the body are not together in the same place, what I often see people do is really pull super hard with their arms. And the mind thinks it can go farther, and oftentimes the body can go far, but we're missing that listening, those listening cues where as you move into slightly deeper rotation, the breath should become more full. The feeling of the pose both grounded, like you're in your body better, but a lightness that relates to the quality of ease. And if you haven't already, lift your chin a little bit and turn your head toward the left. Just getting the full spiral all the way up where the spiral fascia line connects at the back of the skull. Come back to face the center. Hi, Miss Junebug. And then you're going to lift up and come back to all fours. Just start to walk your feet and knees back in such a way where you can begin to drop down on your forearms. And once you've got your forearms down, release your chest and release your head. So we're aiming to keep the hips roughly above the knees, and we're releasing the head to the ground. So this is like a high version of child's pose where the buns are up. It's always a good one to do if your knees are bugging you. Exhale and soften wherever there's gripping. We're going to do a little bit of pulsation in some arm work. So you're going to open your hands out so they're near the outer edges of your mat. And then the work that we'll be pulsating in and out of is that we're going to push down with the fingertips and we're going to lift the elbows, palms and fingers down, elbows up. And then exhale and drop the elbows down. So we're going to do that 5 times. So you're going to inhale, raise the elbows as much as you can, pushing palms into the floor, and exhale, drop the elbows. So nothing else is really moving too much. Go again, inhale, elevate the underside of the arms. Exhale, release. 2 more. You might find that you have to creep your hands forward. That's fine if you do. Inhale, lift. Soften the face. Exhale, release. Last one. Inhale, lift. Exhale, let go. Lift your head, lean forward. You're gonna go to Sphinx pose and you're gonna grab either your bolster or a blanket or pillow and you're gonna put that under your solar plexus as you arrive in the Sphinx position. This is one of my favorite ways to support the back and to help us breathe in chest and back openers. So depending on the height of your prop, you may have to work more or less here. So press your head back, slide the top of your throat back, send your gaze out so that it's in front of your hands, well, maybe like a foot or 2 feet, but you're not looking so far forward that you're craning your neck. And then send the breath out into the sides of your ribs. We want the side ribs to roll out and up towards the armpits, out to the sides and up towards the armpits. And so what that's gonna do is it's gonna support diaphragmatic breathing, which is different than belly breathing. So instead of your belly pushing down to the floor or into the bolster or pillow, breathe out into the side ribs, even the back ribs, so that they roll away from each other and up towards they elevate up towards your armpits. And your solar plexus gets a little bit more hollow. And then just try to remember what that feels like, that sense of support in your middle where the prop is and the freedom to breathe. And then slide your blanket or bolster or whatever it is out of the way and recreate that on your own. So here you're gonna have to actively lift just a little bit more. So it's gonna feel a little bit different. Head back, throat back, side ribs full with the breath. And from here, we're gonna move into a thigh stretch. So you're gonna take your left hand across the front of your mat. You're gonna bend your right knee and you're gonna reach back with your right hand. You can grab the inside of your foot, the outside of your foot, doesn't really matter right now. And you're gonna push back a little bit with your foot into your hand. So instead of bringing the foot near your behind, help yourself open the front of your chest. Now it's gonna be harder here to do this supported work in the front of the body where the ribs flare wide, but try. Good job. Release and switch. So I just caught myself cranking my head back, trying to go deeper in the pose. It's not to say you can't go deeper in the pose, but that was totally ego or mind driven. Like I could go deeper, I can, but as soon as I did it, my low back hurt. And that was a moment where my mind and my body just disconnected. So check in with yourself periodically and see where your mind is. It might help to think about the breath again. And then release. Your hands push into the floor and come up to all fours. Step forward with your right foot. We're going to come into a lunge. And once you're in your lunge, you're going to stay fairly upright with your hips kind of above your back knee. And we're going to work on a little bit of articulation with the pelvis. And all we're going to do is tilt and tuck. It sounds easy, all we're going to do. It's actually a little bit harder than it seems because your legs are split. So we're going to tuck forward. Tailbone is reaching down towards the floor. The front hip bone is pulling up. And now we're going to tilt. We're going to go the other way. So we're going to stick out the booty back. The groin gets more hollow. Tailbone rises back, sticks out back, and the low back is in more of a back bend. So let's do this like 3 to 5 times. So exhale, tuck. Inhale, tilt. As you do your last pass, just See if you can keep your hips mostly pointing forward, that they're not winging out to the right or left. Now go somewhere in the middle, perhaps maybe just a little bit more toward the tucked side of things. When your inhale comes, reach up with your left hand, reach down with your right hand. We're going to keep this orientation with the arms, and we're going to lift the gaze and just bend slightly to the right. If it feels really unstable, you can grab your block and put that underneath your right hand. In your mind, just picture that circumference of your rib cage. See if you can flare the left side ribs out and up. The back ribs back and up. Release the torso and step to change your legs. If you're using a block, just put that over on the other side. For now, hands can rest on the front leg, and we're going to do a little bit of mobilization in the pelvis. So we're moving with our muscle strength through forward and backward rotation. So when you're ready, exhale, tuck. So the belly is involved here. You're also going to squeeze your glutes, the right one in particular. The front hip bone, the ASIS, pulls up. Now exhale. If you haven't already, I might have lost you with the breath there. So we inhale and we arch the low back. And we anterior tilt. So low back is more of a back bend there. And now exhale, posterior tilt, tuck. As you do the last one, just check that your hips are not rotating left, right. They're staying in the front to back, the sagittal plane. It's a really good way to get into the hip flexors way up at the top of the thigh. Find that neutral position that aims just a little bit more on the tucked side of things. Inhale, right arm up. Exhale, left hand down. Slide the head and throat back, lift the gaze slightly, and then bend to the left. Find your block if you're using it. And then come into the breath with your awareness. Give the mind that focus. Right there on the right ribs. The right ribs are flaring out to the right, and the side ribs are rolling up toward your arm. We're holding, not just so we get that sensation of stretch, but so that we can take a few breaths and feel that movement. The back ribs on the right by your kidneys, they go back and up towards the back of your head. Good work. Come on out of that. Put the block to the side. You're going to sweep your feet forward. Actually, I'm going to turn the other way. It doesn't matter which way you face, but you're going to take your block, and my suggestion is the medium height. Put it across your block, your mat. Having language issues today. You can hold it if you need to for support until you can lean back and make contact with it. We're aiming for like back of the heart, shoulder blade area. Once you've got it there, touching your body, you can let go. And then we're gonna roll the chest open toward the ceiling. This is where you can make little micro adjustments. And then tilt the whole gaze and head upright. So let's begin with some head support. So we're just gonna lightly hold the back of the head. Let the head drop into that support. And with your hands, encourage just ever so slightly a lengthening of the skull away from the shoulders. So right now you're thinking like head and chest are basically parallel to the ground. This is a more intense version of what we did when we were on the bolster at the beginning. Now you're going to see if you can, hey June, stop licking. You're going to see if you can keep your head at this same elevation, and without your hands, keep it there. So now you have to work And you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to hold your elbows, which is less heavy feeling than straightening the arms all the way out overhead. So do one of those two. Tuck your front ribs in. That's going to help with the front line, helping hold the head up. If you're holding your elbows across, other one on top, your head probably feels super heavy right now. A statistic I read is that the average head is 15 to 20 pounds. It's pretty heavy. Good job, hands back behind the skull. We're going to use the hands to help pick ourselves back up. So pull on the head, gaze forward, put your hands on the ground, and rise back up. Once you're upright, we're going to turn back around, and we're going to take dog pose. You can do that puppy pose again too. That's the one we did earlier where we actively pulse the arms up and down. In either case, you're going to try to kind of combine that work where there's a sense of buoyancy or lift in the underside of your arm bones. That was when you straightened your arms earlier and you lifted your elbows off the floor. And at the same time, that spot in your back that should feel like it's pretty active still, where you just had your weight on the block, press that towards your knees. Now, balance, if you can, the work of lifting the armpits like your shoulders are going forward, and at the same time pressing your thoracic spine toward your knees. So just stay with that, and I'm gonna commend the dog because we're really working on her not getting in personal space. Good job, June. As she walked over here and realized that it wasn't the right time, and she went back to her blankie. Good girl. Give yourself 2 more breaths. Try to expand around the circumference of your back and side ribs. So remember that the belly, the solar plexus, isn't dropping or falling. In fact, it's almost feeling a little bit more hollow because your side ribs are inflating and the diaphragm can suck up underneath them. Okay, exhale the knees down. Now for this one, you might want a knee pad. We're gonna do a kneeling lunge with a thigh stretch. I'm gonna let June have the blankie there for now. We'll see how it goes. So we're going right back to our right leg forward, and this little bit of tuck that we did earlier, we're gonna add that, trying to not let the hip sway to the side. Now, if it's easy for you, you can just pick your foot up and go right to your foot to hand clasp. Some people that doesn't work very well, and you might find it's easier to kind of get down on the ground and pick up your foot or reach back and get it and then try to get upright. Either way, try in this version to roll a little forward, to bend forward with your whole pelvis, the whole pose, so that you roll less onto your kneecap and more toward kind of like the top of your knee where it meets your thigh. Now we're doing just like we did before when we were on our belly. We're gonna kind of keep pushing the foot back into the hand so that the arm is straight. At the same time, you can press into your right knee, get a little bit of elevation through the spine. Just check in with the glutes, the left hip, tuck it down, squeeze those butt muscles just a little. And see if you can get a clean breath around the whole like circumference, like it's an umbrella of your diaphragm opening, like the center of the umbrella is up under your heart and it's opening all the way around the ribs inside you. Okay, let's release. And then we're gonna take a standing pose. It's half moon, so grab your block if you have one. We're gonna push it off on a diagonal from the pinky toe. You're gonna lift your back knee, and then you're gonna shift forward and elevate the left leg. Once you have it up, turn it open and stretch back through the left foot. So kind of clear out the knees, but think of lengthening from the crown to your left toes. You can add the upper arm overhead if you want to. And we're gonna come out of this into side angle pose. So you're gonna bend your standing leg. You're gonna tap the left toes to the ground. Walk that foot back. You can even slide your block back, readjust. Keep that right leg bent now and sweep the left arm alongside your ear. So don't force your hips to roll open toward the sky. Let them kind of go into their natural angle here. Turn your ribs instead. Nice breath into side body, back body. Then turn toward the floor. Put the left knee down. Step back with right foot. You can put the block over to the left for now and come up into kneeling lunge on the left side. So we're working today, I called it like a back bend class, but we're working the lower half of the back bend a little bit more than the upper half. Tuck in. Find a way to get that right foot. Try to roll forward so you're not just straight down on your kneecap, but you're a little above the kneecap. So the bottom half here, we're working this connection between the legs and the torso in a variety of ways, and specifically into where the diaphragm sits in the middle of the body. So that's why we're including those two standing poses. Right now, if you check in and kind of squeeze your glutes, the right one in particular, right butt cheek area, and you lean your hips forward, but you zip up the front of your belly and that front hip bone, you should feel like you're getting quite a thigh stretch. You can help by pushing down with your left hand and making some space all the way up through the spine. So you're pulling your spine up away from the hips to also encourage the opening in the front of the body there. Okay, that was my tight side. We may have held that longer, but all the same, we're going into half moon now. You're gonna slide the block forward. So instead of putting it on a tight rope right in front of your foot, put it off the pinky toe edge on a diagonal. And then you're gonna lift back leg. You can kind of hop forward until your weight, your hips are right above that left knee or foot. And then you're gonna bring the right leg up and turn the hips open toward the right. So one thing that happens often in this pose is the lifted foot slides back behind you. Try to keep it right in line with your hips. And then you're gonna turn your chest away from the floor, any amount. And then you're creating length in your mind. You want the length to be, in particular, from your right hip to your right armpit. Then step down with that right foot. You can kind of tap it back, bring the block back, and sweep the right arm overhead. So the hips will go only so far in terms of rotation, turning away from the left leg. So don't force that. Instead, turn your belly toward the sky. And then try to pull your ribs away from your hips and just press into the right foot so you get nice and long on your right side. Good job. Exhale, hand to floor. Lift the back heel. Put that right knee down. Okay, step back with that left foot. Move your block to this side. And let's go back into dog pose or puppy pose. Do that same work where the arm bones lift. This is how we support the shoulder joints. One of the ways. The shoulder blades are kind of on the back and broad. But we're working to bend in the upper thoracic spine, kind of where the heart area is, and have that sense of almost like hollowness, like up under the inside of the rib cage, so there's room to breathe. Everything's fine, honey. Lean forward, take plank. 3, 2, 1. Put your knees down. Walk your hands back like a foot or two from the front of your mat. And then take chin, chest, knees. So you lean forward and you put your chest, hi June bug, and your chin, hi, stop, she's licking my face, on the floor. So put your chin down, put your hands down, roll your shoulders back. Try to get your chest to tap the floor. So you're bending a lot in the upper back. And then you're gonna remember that feeling and just slide forward, straighten the legs, and coil up into cobra, trying to keep that kind of openness in the front of the chest, front of the throat. On exhale, release and lie on your belly. Hi, sweetheart. The buoyancy of breath into the back of your body should help the front of your body feel a little bit lighter on the floor, especially at the solar plexus. So that's above the navel, but below the sternum bone, the bottom of the sternum. Right, so let's put all these pieces together into Dhanurasana or bow pose. So for this one, you can kind of start with your head and chest up if that helps you, but you're gonna bend both knees this time. We're gonna reach back and see if we can get both feet. Now, if not, you can just alternate back and forth. You're gonna drive with your feet, even your knees can lift. And then push back with your head, pull on your feet, and see if you can rise higher. Maybe you breathe in such a way where it rocks you. Now it's kind of spring-loaded, so just be careful when you let go slow. And just make a pillow with your hands and rest your head on it. Use your hands now. Push yourself back up to your knees. You're going to stand on your knees with your, let's start with the feet on the toes versus the toenails. And we're going to do camel pose. Don't fast forward. I know how much people hate this pose. We're going to do it a little bit differently, and I'm going to hopefully teach you a way where it's a little less painful. So just bear with me for a second and picture there's this loop that spins again in the sagittal plane, and we're going to picture that it starts at the line of the mouth, and that as the mouth and kind of jaw go back, like you're drinking a little bit of water, you can feel your upper back engage. And when you get that, when you slide the head back and you feel your upper back engage, use those muscles of the upper back to lift the top of your sternum right by the notch, the suprasternal notch, toward your chin. And you basically just spun a loop. So the throat and the head go back, and then the shoulder blades press forward into the back of the chest, and then the chest lifts. And so I don't even care if you reach your feet right now. You can put your hands on your hips or wherever you want. I just want you to see, can you hold your head up and bend in your thoracic spine? That's kind of what we've been working on off and on in this practice. And maybe you see where the ceiling meets the wall, or maybe not. You'll know if you've gone too far if you can no longer talk normally. If your voice sounds like that, you've gone too far. All right, we're gonna take the block now, and we're gonna sit on it. You can put it right between your feet, or if that's not comfortable for you, just sit in a different way. We're gonna go back into that pose in just a moment. So I think because camel pose has the sort of outer look of touching the feet, I think a lot of times people just, they check out, right? The mind and body disconnect, and we're like, gotta get to the feet. And then we completely miss the ability to do the work in the upper back. And this work, it's coming from a lot of places, but you're definitely engaging your rhomboids and your lower trapezius, kind of there between the shoulder blades. And we want those to be stronger. They help hold the head up, they help hold good posture. If you rock climb like me, they'll help you with your lock off in a healthy shoulder way. So let's do this again. And this time, when you slide into that shoulder loop, where the head goes back, the chest elevates, stay at that end range where the loop is, and then hinge at your knees and lean back a little bit. And you'll like instantly you'll start like trembling, like, oh my God, all my muscles are working, all those little muscles. Now that little bit may have gotten you the clearance to get to a foot. It might not. If going to a foot suddenly collapses you into a rounded spine, then don't do it. If you get to a foot, you can alternate, or maybe you do both. But we're really trying to stay in integrity with the upper body without losing that work. Squeeze your buns, push your tail forward, open the front body. Now when you come up head and chest first. Ooh, good job. Take the block away if it's still there, and then just have a seat. Okay, this is the personal space issue. Come on, move along. Go on. No. Go to your bed. Go to the bed. Okay, take a seat. And I'll face you for this one. I think that'll probably be useful. Once you're sitting, I'm going to move some of these things out of the way. You're going to bend your right knee up toward the sky. And you're going to put your left ankle through the hole between your right foot and your right knee. So because we have been back bending, we're going to not cross the ankle over as we go into this twist. This is going to leave a little bit more space because we're just beginning to transition out of those back bends, and we don't want to go too extreme. Junebug, hey. So once you have your legs like that, you're going to pull that right knee upright. Hey, lie down. And instead of thinking of twisting, I just want you to think like you're facing your right knee. And so we're going really slowly to unravel any junk that happened in the low back, not just suddenly switching directions and hoping for the best. You're okay, sweetheart. Now, I want you to just attend in your mind to the low back, the middle back, and picture that broadening. Like I had my hands on the back of your waist, and I was just helping your back release out to the sides. If it does release and you have the room to go deeper in the twist, of course, go, but just resist the urge to do that all from the mind telling you you should instead of the body saying it's ready. Please untwist, change the cross, and then again, I know you can probably put your foot over the knee, but we're going to keep more like ankle to ankle so it's a little wider. And instead of thinking of twisting, we're going to pull the left knee up, and we're just going to turn a little bit to face the knee. This is also a really good one if you have a little bit bigger of a belly, or if you're early in your pregnancy, usually later in like the second and third trimester, it's better to just twist away from the knee. But right now, if you're having any kind of physical impediment, the size and shape of your body, or if you've eaten too much and you feel too full, you can always do this wider version. I'm really a firm believer in fitting the body, the pose to meet the body. Right? Like this kind of old school yoga was to like make everything look like the pictures in the book. I remember one of my first studios where I studied yoga as a teacher, to be a teacher, which was an Iyengar studio. They had taken all of the pictures from BKS Iyengar's Light on Yoga book and blown them up into like a spiral bound, just the pictures, not the words, big, like 8.5 by 11. And it was like a goal for people there to try to get their bodies to look like Iyengar's bodies. I don't know if you noticed, but I have boobs, so I'm not gonna look like him. And I say that jokingly, but you know, let's release out of that. It's, this is why I like to say I teach like neoclassical yoga. All right, so sit up on a little pillow or a blanket. Thank you, Miss June, for letting that be available. You're gonna take your legs crossed and you're gonna cross them kind of at the shin and ankle. You're gonna push your feet forward. So instead of the feet being way back close to the hips with the shins making like a V shape, push your feet forward. Cross them a little bit tighter so the feet are kind of under the knees and the shins are more parallel to your front. So this is called Sukhasana. Sukha means easy. I don't think this is that easy. I don't really know why they call it that, but easy cross-leg pose, in quotes. And as we did at the beginning, we're going to let the hips weight. W-E-I-G-H-T, not I'm waiting, looking at my watch. Release down. Let the hips release down. You know, if your knees are high, if they're higher than your hip bones, you can do two things. You can lift your hips up on a higher prop, or you can just stay where you are. But if you are a little more limber in your legs and your knees are lower, it might be in your back, who knows, you can lean out over the legs, and we're just going to put the hands on the floor in front of the shins. So we're not going to the max depth here. We're going to press with the finger or palms down, roll some weight into the tailbone so that the low back becomes more round. Inflate the back ribs with some breath. And the reason that we didn't go way forward, there's a few reasons, but one is we're now going to twist or walk over to the right. So we're staying upright to facilitate that. So you're now returning to that idea of facing your right knee. And instead of trying to go down like you're putting your head on your knee or something, stay a little more upright and let that left hip descend so that the side of your waist there, low back, side of your waist, all that stuff can fan out and spiral open. Take the gaze down toward the floor. Try to get one of those sort of micro focuses where maybe you just look at the texture of your mat or carpet or wherever you are so that you can be patient for the body to let go. Sometimes it takes a while, especially because we did a lot of back bends. All right, sit on up. We're going to put the other shin in front, which usually is pretty odd feeling for most people. So Sukhasana, second side, breath in, lean forward if that's appropriate for your knees and back. We don't want the knees high or the back to roll back toward the floor behind. We want to aim the spine forward so it's tipping from the hips forward. And then once we've tipped it forward, then we're going to push the hands into the floor and roll the tailbone down so that the back opens up. So ultimately it ends up with a little bit more roundness in it, but it's more forward than sitting upright. You can start to walk your hands to the left, and you're thinking of kind of aiming, like lining up your midline, your nose, the middle of your chest over your left knee. It might not go that far, maybe it goes farther, who knows? but we're staying upright to facilitate keeping the pelvis a little more level. So that right hip, it's going to want to wing off, drop it down. And you can think less of like pushing it down and more allowing it down. The front ribs drop back, the back ribs and side ribs flare open. Gaze down and teach the mind how to just be okay with nothing, with not doing, just being there. Be curious about the texture of your mat or your carpet and just wait for your body. Start to practice being more granular. That's the term that's usually used with emotions, being able to describe more detail or variety in your emotional state, but you can do it with your body, like more nuanced, more subtle. Come on back up. This is one of the marks of a more advanced yoga practitioner, actually, right? You're gonna lie on your back next. A less advanced practitioner will go for that gross stretch, that big, strong, intense feeling. And a little bit more experienced practitioner will be able to feel more of like the layers of the fascia, the nervous system, the energetic body. You're gonna pick up your knees. You're gonna hold your knees with your hands. They can be together or apart. Just allow the low back to smush onto the floor. That's the technical term, we're smushing it. You can move the knees a little if you like. And you can either stay as is or go into happy baby, and that's where you would open the knees and grab for your feet. So a version that I like of happy baby is actually not bringing the feet up to the sky, but bringing the soles of the feet together, kind of like Supta Baddha Konasana or reclining bound angle pose. So just play for another few breaths with whatever your body tells you it needs. When your body is ready, you're gonna stretch out on the ground, or maybe, this is what I'm gonna do, grab your bolster and put that under your knees. So if your back's talking to you at all, or you just feel like you need that support, just slide that under the knee and calf area. And let yourself settle in. If it's feeling like you need any other stretches, your body's not quite ready to go to Shavasana, you're always welcome to take them. And try to get out those fidgets. I'm feeling a little fidgety myself. But try to avoid the fidgets causing you to leave the pose. See if you can adjust in a way where you can stay and let your body rest. So here's my sensitive princess in the P nervous system. It wants cushion underneath it. So do what you have to do, and I'll stay with you for this Shavasana. No, me first, baby. The idea with Shavasana is, I've said this before, but to integrate the changes that you've put into practice and to allow this feeling to kind of saturate things. Like you're steeping in it. So while you're steeping, saturating, resting, is there a part in you right now that feels in homeostasis? It feels not triggered, and it also doesn't feel shut down. It's that sweet spot. And if there is a spot that's awake in that way, where is that place? And what does it feel like? It's very possible, even likely, that there are other places that might exist in a conflicting way. That you might feel that sweet spot, but also feel agitated or angry or down. And I just want to call attention to that this is normal. Not only is it normal to feel challenging things, but to feel them alongside positive things or things that are easy and joyful. In yoga, we try to embrace the whole spectrum, even if we don't particularly like the feeling. Just begin to deepen your breath, just ever so slightly. Or you can stay longer if you want. Or start to move and stretch again. You can use your own inner wisdom as to how to get up in a way that is kind to your body and your mind. And take just a moment to sit again. You can sit in Sukhasana or Siddhasana or some whatever way. And relocate that place where you feel, in polyvagal terms, this ventral vagal connection with yourself, with the God of your understanding. And it's not that we're trying to always feel that way. I mean, that would be lovely, but it's unrealistic. But just note where and how it feels, so that when it occurs again, you notice it. that will help you return after you've been triggered. If it's meaningful for you, just join your hands together in front of your heart or in any other mudra that you like. Let's finish our practice together with one breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Thank you so much for being here, for practicing, and for all the support that you have given me. I look forward to seeing you next time. And thank you for being willing to put up with dogs and dog noises in my practice. It's really important to us to foster and to give back so that we give these guys another chance at a good life.